Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Flint Community Webinar, your community resource. I hope you liked the new music and our new digs. We're trying something new and it really at the suggestion of community people. So we're really excited to talk to you today. We've got great community members as usual and as always. We are going to be talking with the Community Foundation of Greater Flint, and we're going to be talking about the Community Safety Collaborative. We've got our wonderful people here again today. I know Doc G and Nurse T will be in the background, kind of with their wonderful wisdom as always. But we've got Dr. Kenyatta Dodson, we've got Alan Harris, we've got Teresa Roach, we've got Percy Glover, and we've even got Julie Lopez, the Executive Director of Crime Stoppers, and our own Moses Bingham with the Community Foundation of Greater Flint to help us think about the Community Safety Collaborative and all the ways that that group is thinking about how we keep our Flint safe. I'm going to let Moses go ahead and get us started. Good to see you, Moses.
Good to see you as well. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So talk to us a little bit. When you think about the Community Safety Collaborative, could you lead us through sort of the history of how that was developed, how it came to be?
Yes, indeed. So back just beyond the pandemic in 2022, and even before that, the Community Foundation was replete in saying that, hey, we need to focus on equity in our community. But before you even talk about equity, you can't talk about equity if you're not safe in your community. And so we not only began a journey on equity, we began a journey on what it looks like for our community to be safer for our kids, for our families, for our future. And so we began this national cohort with CF Leads, Community Foundation Leads organization. This national cohort allowed us to see what violence, what safety looks like in different parts of the nation, and that everyone had a story. And we found out that, even from other community foundations who were doing this work, they weren't absent from the harms and the ills of what gun violence brings. And so from that cohort and from that learning, we immediately start bringing those learnings back with us. We had Jaquanda Johnson from Flint Beat on that cohort. We had Kenyatta Dotson, Carmen Lewis, and then our own Sue Peters at the time was a part of that cohort, and Lynn Williams. We immediately began to bring those learnings and those things that we learned from other community foundations and other partners throughout the nation and said, hey, let's create a gun violence prevention network right here in our own community. Knowing that we have practitioners who's been in that safety space for a long time. We curated that, and then we shifted our focus and broadened it at the same time, where we shifted to a gun violence prevention network to a community safety collaborative. And our community safety collaborative work has been able to curate and connect with partners on different levels to make sure that everyone has a seat at the table, because it takes us all here in the community to make sure that we're safe. And most recently, we've been on a 24-week cohort or a vibrant teens community with Claremont Lincoln University that helped curate our blueprint of peace here in the city of Flint. And so with that, we began to just really explore what it looks like to what it means to be safe in our community. And so it's been a long journey, and it's not a fix, but it's a starting point. And we need people to be at the table to help cure violence in our community.
That's that's such an important point that you made. We need people to be at the table if we're going to have a chance at curing violence in the community. As you think about the people that it's been super important to have at the table, can you talk to us a little bit about those partnerships and the partnerships that have come out of the community safety collaboration and what's been important, who we've been partnering with to make some of that work happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So it'd be important to earmark as we move to this iteration of work. We center our work around the question, how is it that we believe every young person deserves to be safe and thrive, yet we invest more in reacting to violence than preventing it?
Yeah.
Right. And so Michigan State University has been a tremendous partner in being able to realize what does the data look like from that perspective. While outreach, right? The sheriff's office, the Flint Department, the Flint Police Department, all these partners, Flint Neighborhoods United, Flint Beat, everyone has a seat at this table. We talk about sisters supporting sisters, men motivating men, Crime Stoppers. There's this laundry list of people who are continually to do the work in our community and do it together, right? Because no one can do it or solve it alone. And we need all hands on deck. And so these partners has been very instrumental along the way to say, hey, we need youth programming, we need mentors, we need data and research. We need to make sure that we have funding, right? Not only the Community Foundation, Ruth Mott, the United Way, CS Mott, we're all coming together and saying, hey, how can we make sure that we're solving or working collaboratively to solve these issues in our community, right? If there's a youth problem and we need, okay, there's youth that are causing the violence on this side of town, what type of programming do we need on this side of town, right? Thinking strategically and thinking collaboratively are like what steps and what initiatives we need to have in our communities to make sure that we're making progress.
I love the point you made. And of course, y'all know me, I'm a primary care doc, right? And so if we're doing good jobs at our job as primary care docs, we're preventing. And I love the point you made that we understand that for things like prevent, cancer, prevent heart disease, prevent these things, we are not taking that lens as a community necessarily to gun violence. And so why can't we think about prevention? And it sounds like that's the core of the work that you're doing. Can you talk to me, or that the Community Safety Collab is doing together? Talk to me a little bit. You discussed the idea of funding and not just the Community Foundation. Talk to me a little bit about your role at the Community Foundation and how that dovetails with the work you're doing with the Community Safety Collab.
Yeah, so as a convener, a catalyst and a connector, CFGF, we play a role in, or a unique role in advancing community safety through Greater Flint. Our role is not to replace law enforcement or direct service providers. Instead, the Community Foundation help align resources, build partnerships, strengthen community capacity, and support evidence-informed strategies that reduce violence and improve quality of life, right? So we're convening partners, we're supporting community violence intervention and prevention, the aspects of, upstream versus downstream. You want to connect on the upstream level, but then how do you mitigate and look at things from an intervention perspective on the downstream level, right? We're advancing our blueprint of peace. Like I said, we work with this with a partnership in Claremont University in terms of concretizing our blueprint of peace. We're leveraging resources and partnerships. Once again, Michigan State University has been a tremendous partner. And one of the things that we're working on right now is that we looked at the cost of a homicide and the cost of a shooting. Right? We've been able to sit down with Alan Harrison and Dr. Rick Sadler and say, hey, these are Detroit numbers in terms of the cost of a shooting and the cost of a homicide. $1.1 million and $1.3 million respectively, right? And if you think about that in dollars and cents, $1.1 million for one homicide, the cost of it on the county, the city, and the state perspective, we've had 33 homicides in the city of Flint. And it's costing us over, do the math, 33 times 1 million. So why the cost on that? Why can't we do efforts or put energy or put resources to prevent? Right. And so that's our role, is to bring these type of things to light. Right. And everyone has to have a seat at the table to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and making sure that, safety is afforded for everyone. And that's equity.
Yeah. You keep giving me these little jewels that are amazing. Everyone has to have a seat at the table. And then you said earlier that it requires all hands on deck. And I want us to think about that and bring all hands on deck, bring Teresa Roach to the conversation, bring Alan Harris up to the conversation, and Kenyatta Dotson up to the conversation. Because I'd like us to think about this together and sort of the work that all of you are doing in supporting the Community Safety Collaborative.
Yeah, so I guess I can speak to kind of why the CRIM is a part of this and why I'm a part of this. At the CRIM Fitness Foundation, we are all about physical, mental, and social well-being. And so it isn't just about physical activity here. We're about community health, nutrition, active communities. And so without a safe environment, we can't really promote any of those things. If people don't feel safe, they're not thriving. Their community is not somewhere that they want to be out and about and moving. And I mean, really, that's just it. We can't advertise or promote going for a run in your neighborhood or going for a walk or going to the park if those spaces do not feel safe at all. It's just not responsible, first of all. And so that's one of the reasons why we're involved in this. And we just know that the more unsafe people feel, the more that they are kind of battling with a survival brain, the more that they are just in survival mode, the more likely that they're going to have high stress levels, high blood pressure. They could potentially have heart disease. Like there's so many different health outcomes that are affected by just holding stress in the body. And so that is why we're a part of it and why we take it so seriously. When we have this community-wide trauma, our nervous systems in are just on high alert. So we have this kind of this citywide nervous system that is just on
Yes,
high alert. And so
100%.
mindfulness for us is not just about like sitting still, crisscross on a cushion. It is a tool to learn how to regulate or downregulate your nervous system. It is a tool to learn how to talk to each other and how to have difficult conversations, how to connect deeply. It's a tool that helps you even connect deeply in those moments that are full of joy. And,
Yeah.
for our friends on the calls that maybe have a faith practice, mindfulness is also something that can help you clear your mind so that you can connect higher, deeper with your higher power. So we leave it as just honestly, it is a way to train your attention and to manage your nervous system, regardless of how you want to use that tool. But right now, for us, it's really important that we are taking those tools and looking at them through a lens of creating a safer environment. Because who wants to come out to community yoga for your family with your kids if you're
Mhm.
afraid that you're, going to be one of these 33 homicides?
I think this is such an important point. I remember as a physician in training, shout out to the people who trained me. Um, but I remember one of the physicians saying, I asked one of my patients if they felt safe to go on a walk because she was an older lady. She lived in an environment where the streets weren't necessarily paved and the sidewalks were a little bit unstable. And then she also had some concerns about the safety of the time of day of walking and all of the things that you've alluded to. And I think it's so important for us to understand that how much safety plays a role, or our perception of safety even plays a role in our day-to-day lives. The things that you described in terms of our nervous systems being on high alert, they absolutely drive a hormone called cortisol, right? This is the hormone, a stress hormone that increases for us when we're worried, when we're stressed. And that can be good because sometimes we need that stress hormone to be on alert and let us know that we're running from a bear, right? That is the example we tend to give in medical school. But we should not always feel like we're running from a bear, right? Like that should not be our daily existence. And part of what I hear you saying, Teresa, is that the importance of the community safety collaborative is certainly the specific outcome of decreasing gun violence, but it is also the outcome for all of us that we have to feel safe in our neighborhoods because if we don't, our collective level of stress is super high. And that's impacting things like blood pressure, our ability to be present for moments of joy, our ability to connect to a faith practice, and all the things you alluded to. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
absolutely. And not only that, it's also leading to the actual crimes. People are so stressed out and so much in their survival mode that then they begin to act out and kind of take on these what we call maladaptive behaviors
Right.
in our space. But people have bad behavior. They get on their worst behavior. They're showing up as their worst selves. Sometimes sometimes it's not to their own fault. because this is happening throughout the community to us as a community sometimes. So that's what we want to try to help address.
Thank you so much for that perspective. I want to get everybody in on this conversation. So, Kenyatta, I'm going to tell me a little bit about your perspective. Kind of what do you think about when you think about the Community Safety Collaborative and what our role is at MSU and what the role is of community partners and what you need from us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for having us on this amazing webinar. We truly appreciate it. And also trying to organize like our collective team. There's a number of great partners who are missing from this space who comes together every
Absolutely.
second Wednesday of the month. But we're truly happy to have those who are here with us today, and also everyone who zoomed in to the webinar um, to figure out what is their part, how do I do my part to be more informed, and to learn this valuable information. Please know that you are always welcome at the table, in the room, every second Wednesday, and for any other events that we have scheduled as a community partnership. So the CSC, um, and many of you probably know, we're all trying to do what we can do to the best of our ability. We're doing a whole lot with very little. I mean, capacity, staffing, from a mental standpoint, we understand the need, and and as organizations, as nonprofits, as community champions, as advocates, we're just trying to do what we can do. And so when there's an opportunity to come together, to collaborate, to partner, um, to leverage our resources, we should be taking advantage of those opportunities. And I feel, because this group, the Community Safety Collaborative, has been together, I would say, for roughly four years or so. And these are partners who are already doing the work, and there's still others who are out there doing the work. But at some point, you have to make a decision to bring your piece to the table and connect it with other people who are doing like-minded like-minded work and service. And that's what we decided to do. We're like, we need to bring all this together. Community Safety or Community Foundation of Greater Flint, Moses, and the team, they were able to put some resources behind it so that we can begin to organize ourselves. Percy always says, we have all the pieces here, and I've always believed that myself. We have all the pieces here because everybody is doing such great work, but we have to bring it all together. We have to integrate our work so that we can be stronger together, we can have more, we can impact more, and we can do more. I love what Teresa said. Some people might say, oh, that's just meditating. That's nothing. I don't have time for that. I'm working, I'm busy. I'm trying to make things happen. But guess what? Oftentimes we have to take a pause. And I tell young people all the time, take a pause for the cause. Just take in a breath. Before you punch somebody in the face, or before you do something that you're going to regret, before you say something that you're going to regret, because a lot of times communication brings about violence because of what I said. It prompted somebody else to do something. And next thing you know, we either have a major fight, or someone has been injured or lost their life. So I always say, take a pause for the cause. Just chill just for a moment. Take in a breath before you respond, or before you just jump out and do something to someone. And that's just meditation. And Teresa and the CRIM teaches us how to do that in a way where we're not responding to our actions, or responding based on our emotions. And a lot of times we're able to walk away from a pretty tumultuous situation. So I just wanted to put that out there and say that please take advantage of not only the asset and the gifts and superpowers that Teresa might bring, or some of the other team. You'll hear from Julie a little later on, and Alan. But just take a pause, chill for a moment, and utilize the gifts and the assets and resources that these partners and other community champions in community have to offer.
Teresa, I'm wondering if I can ask you to share your gifts with us for a little bit, and if you would allow us to take a pause, because I want to recognize that the idea that as a community, as people who are navigating these challenges together, that it's hard to hear that just because you live in a scenario, just because you exist, that you might engage, have a nervous system that is upregulated, might have more stressful experiences. And we have started studying this as a phenomena, right? Like we've started to understand it's something called the weathering hypothesis, something that as Black and brown people, we will experience that experiencing racism or experiencing being marginalized has its impacts through the stuff that we've talked about, right? Through the increased nervous system, through the high blood pressure. And it really does impact life expectancy. And so I want us more than anything, both as a primary care doctor and a person that gets to hang out with y'all on a regular basis, to think about strategies to take a pause for the cause and take, I'm going to steal that from you, Kenyatta. Like, that's not going anywhere. I will cite you as my source at least, but I'm stealing that. Take a pause for the cause. And if you could teach us, Teresa, how to do that as a group and as a collective, I would really appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So why don't we, yeah, it's been a lot of heavy information so far, and honestly, it's just been a heavy year so far already. So if we would like to find a comfortable way to sit in your chair if you're not already, or even standing up if that's what you like to do. You can take a deep breath in through the nose, settling in, exhale through the mouth. Doing that again, maybe this time allowing your exhale to just last a beat longer than your inhale. Breathing in and breathing out. Knowing that when your mind wanders, that's totally normal. That's the way the brain works, the way the brain is supposed to work. But we kind of meet our thoughts, meet our inner voice with some kindness, some love, notice it, name it, let it go. Maybe bringing your attention to your breathing. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. Perhaps bringing your attention to maybe the sounds in the room, or maybe the feel of the fabric underneath you or your clothes. Finding an anchor point that is for you. Not everybody is supported by the breath. So maybe noticing what's showing up, thanking it for showing up and letting it go. Taking that breath in and exhale, allowing that exhale to last a little longer. Stimulating our parasympathetic nervous system, letting our bodies know we are safe, we're calm, at least in this moment, right here, right now. Whatever's coming up in the future, it'll be there when we get there. Whatever we were working on before, can put it on the shelf, hang it up, put it in a box, whatever you need to do with it. Maybe you got to come back later. That's okay. But right now, in this moment, we're safe. And before we return our attention to the virtual space, perhaps considering one question. What would be of service right now? So just what would be of service for you? Maybe what's of service for the community, perhaps what's of most of service for yourself and what you need today, maybe for your family, maybe just for your pets. I don't know. What would be of service today for you? and maybe imagining yourself walking through whatever that looks like, noticing what comes up in the body physically, noticing any emotions coming up. What does it look like if you were to successfully be of service today, perhaps for yourself, your family, community, maybe just one of those three? And as we close, just invite you to hold on to that vision, hold on to that idea of what can help you to be of service and what's the best next thing to do, what's the next right thing to do for yourself. And then bringing your attention back to the space, maybe taking a stretch if you need it, breathing out, returning our attention back to EJ here. And that was just 4 minutes of breathing, stopping, pausing. We don't always have 4 minutes. So sometimes I recommend if you're in the car, you're getting ready to go into work, you're getting ready to go in the house, you turn off the car, take a breath in. Today I'm going to do my best and let go of the rest and get out of your car and go in. Sometimes you just get 30 seconds. Sometimes you just get a minute. We work with law enforcement. Sometimes they have to do this on the go. We work with first responders. We work with they can't sit for 5 minutes in the car before they go in for an emergency. So sometimes they have to be doing that on the go. And sometimes you might need to. If you've got kids, you've got families, you've got stuff, everything is not, mindfulness isn't going to get rid of your issues. It's going to help you to work with them skillfully, work with the feelings that are coming up, the emotions, working into just observe your body. Sometimes you don't even know what you're feeling yet, but if you start to feel it in the body, you can maybe address that. So I hope that's helpful.
I that is incredibly helpful. You got some people in the chat saying the same. And I from a physician perspective, you touched on so many things, and I think we don't internalize, and I want to repeat some of the things we said earlier. Even before you know it, your nervous system can be on alert. It happens sometimes when you know it, when you get into a frustrating conversation. But the idea, and one of my favorite authors, his name is Ta-Nehisi Coates, talks about when he was growing up in Baltimore, his a third of his mental energy was spent on being safe. And this was as he was growing up in Baltimore as a young 13-year-old. And you can imagine that is something that is true for our kids who are in Flint. That is something that's true for all of us who are navigating experiences where we might not feel safe. What Teresa just took us through is something that activates something called the vagus nerve in our bodies, right? So when we're feeling like we're being attacked by a bear, because we're going to have this bear for a minute today, feeling like we're being attacked by a bear, our nervous system gets activated. And that bear analogy exists for anything that can be frustrating or scary for us, including being in an environment that doesn't feel safe. So it activates our nervous system. We do have an antidote to that. So if those are the gas, we have brakes, right? We have things that can slow us down. And Teresa just took us through the things that we have ourselves that can kind of slow us down. And I was watching a podcast by a brain surgeon who was saying like when he gets into a particularly difficult brain surgery and he's been at it for 6 hours and he's knows what he has to do, but it's important to him to do this well, that the thing he does is he starts taking his deep breaths. He uses his breath. The thing about using your breath is it is you get into these situations and you haven't practiced it, is not as easy to pull it out and say, oh, I'm just going to take these deep breaths. So taking these 30-second little pauses, the 1 minute little pauses that Teresa suggested, they're so important because we have to get to a place where they're regular practice for us. So I super
Yeah.
appreciate you for giving those examples.
Thank you. And thank you for letting me do that and share with everybody and appreciate being part of the team. And I'm really thankful that the CSC team reached out. I was going to the meetings and I really appreciate them reaching out to me and saying, we really want to incorporate this more into what we're doing. And I like to also leave people with a little bit too of like, this can be used for positive things too. If you're having a really great day, you're spending time with your family, you can really hone in on that and be there for them and be in the moment. It isn't always used to just de-stress or to get rid of anger or to regulate yourself. It can also just be, I'm going to, I use my own examples, going to my goddaughter's first play that she's in. I want to be fully into it, and so maybe I take a few moments to shake off whatever I've got going on because I want to be there really into it so that I can remember what she says and people appreciate that. And sometimes like you said, everything is not a bear. We might think it is, and we do use that in our presentations. We say if a bear or dinosaur walked in here right now, but also like, a first date is not a bear or a dinosaur, but a first date is kind of scary. So yeah, it can be good used for positive things as well. But obviously, it's what we're hoping to do is bring some regulation to people's bodies so that they can learn how to work together more and help each other. Sometimes we have to borrow each other's prefrontal cortex like, hey, I'm not with it today. I gotta breathe with me, and that works too.
Yeah. I want to introduce Percy because I want to talk about that community advocate and the amazing work, Percy, that you've been doing. As I toss the baton to you, I want to highlight this idea of doing it for positive things. I have a fifth grader. Sometimes I've shouted her out. Naeem is a superstar. She's my 10-year-old who's doing great things, and she graduated fifth grade. And I was breathing during her graduation and during her clap out. Genesee County does a great job. I was so proud of her. They did a little celebration, and I did some deep breaths so I could be present in the moment. So you can celebrate the moments in your life with some of those breathing techniques to stay in the moment. But Percy, talk to me a little bit about what it has meant to you to bring your perspective as a community advocate and the things that you are able to see in the community and bring to the table to make sure we're understanding and looking at the right places and asking the right questions and solving the right problems.
So being very transparent, first, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for my teammates for always being committed to the community and the support we provide one another in all of this work. Like Dr. Dawson alluded to, it is very emotional. It can be very taxing from all aspects of energy, time, emotion, mentally, that impacts you physically, as we know. For me, this is hyper personal. I am, in full transparency, a gunshot victim who retaliated and became a gunshot perpetrator. And, it pains me on so many different levels because I see and things mirror so many of my experience that I experienced in the late 80s and beginning of the 90s. Obviously, it's different because we have things like social media. We have now online shopping that makes ghost guns and guns being shipped in pieces more accessible to young people. But a lot of it, how it strikes, is still very similar and the same in a lot of ways. So I wrestle with a lot of different aspects in how we approach things today and how do we become more effective in today and how we approach everything. A couple critical numbers. There are roughly across the state of Michigan annually about 1,400 shootings that are homicide or fatalities. There are roughly 3,000 shootings annually that are non-fatal shootings. So if we go back to what Moses said, that roughly 1.1, 1.2 is the cost, the impact of the cost per community, city, county, and state for a non-fatal shooting. 1.6 roughly is the cost impact of a shooting that results in homicide. Take those numbers and do the easy math. Multiply by 1,400, multiply by 3,000. We are spending billions of dollars where if we made smaller investments on the front side, whether it was in Moses' job, role, responsibility as special projects, et cetera, and supporting him in $1 million in community efforts, or supporting Dr. Dotson and Wild, or supporting Teresa Roach and Krim, et cetera, et cetera. It's minuscule in compared to what we're already spending. That is ridiculous. And applause to our friends Force Detroit who looked at these numbers, and now again applause to Alan Harris and Dr. Rick Sattler that are looking at these numbers more specifically and doing the research and what those numbers look like for specifically Flint and Genesee County, and which I'm sure those costs are pretty similar, but we wanted to be exact, obviously, and see exactly where the numbers fall for our community. Also, something I would like to share to help people understand that gun violence today is cultural. It mirrors the same way from community to community. What you see happens in Saginaw happens almost identically to Flint. That happens almost identically in Pontiac, Detroit, St. Louis, Chicago. Gun violence and youth gun violence has become a public health crisis that affects communities broadly. It's no longer a Flint, Detroit, Saginaw. It's communities broadly. It's Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, Benton Harbor, again, across the country. And we had Community Violence Intervention Day that was organized by our friends, partners, Force Detroit yesterday in Lansing at the Capitol. And there was representation from Muskegon Heights, Flint, Saginaw, Pontiac, Detroit, Lansing, Jackson, Benton Harbor, et cetera, et cetera. There were roughly about 11 cities represented. And I tell people when we work across city and county lines, we have a more safer and prosperous and healthier Michigan, because no one community is not feeling the impact. Not one community individually, from a person, people, or organization standpoint, can do it alone. We have to work so much better together. Like Dr. Dotson also said, that I always say, Flint has everything we need. We just have to be so much better at working together. We have to put aside politically the struggles. We have to put aside emotionally and relationship the struggles, and say, for the greater good and the greater cause and benefit of the community, we have to work together. It should never be politically, especially when we have children as small as 9, 10, 11, 12 years old being shot and losing their lives to gun violence. Regardless if I don't love an individual politically, if I don't love a person professionally, so what? I can never and should never, from anyone, any of us across the community, should hate a person more than I love a child's life. We all have to find the maturity and responsibility to work together, because again, we have all the tools we need right here in the community where we can find success and we can find ways, and it's proven. There are community violence intervention work that's happening locally, that's what's happening across the state, that's happening across the country that we see is effective, and the investment in those efforts makes more sense than what we're currently spending when a person is shot or when a life is lost to gun violence.
Percy, thank you so much for sharing your personal story.
Dr. Jennifer.
Sorry,
this is Kenyatta. I just wanted to mention one thing on top of what Percy said. He talked about the importance of working together, and earlier we talked about the cost, the physical cost of losing a life. But there's also a cost to us. Wouldn't we rather invest our time, our talents, our treasures, our gifts into working together rather than the immense cost that it is, one, losing a life, and then two, when you talk about the billions and millions of dollars that goes to when we lose a life. Like, that money can be invested into resources, into organizations, into people, places, and spaces. And I think it's really important for us to leave our conflicts, leave our differences at the door. Just because I don't like you, because of who I am, I'm gonna love you, but we may not always get along. We may not always like each other from time to time. But guess what? We need to leave our differences, our conflicts at the door, and we need to figure out a way to work together so that we can ensure that we're doing the best that we can do for youth, for families, and for those who need us the most. Thank you. I just wanted to piggyback off of Percy and say that.
No, absolutely. I think that's a phenomenal point for us to understand. Because what I've heard you both say is everything we need is here in Flint. We just need to mobilize the resources. We need to connect people appropriately. We need to leverage our collective time, effort, talent to be thoughtful about how we create this preventative opportunity because the money is clearly there. It's being spent after the fact. Let's spend it before in investing in prevention, so that we can protect our kids and we can protect ourselves. And I think those are such important points. I want to bring Alan Julie forward because Percy, you started to get into some data, and I know Alan, you've got some data and some maps that you want to show us, and Julie as well. And I'd like us to crystallize around this a little bit and think a little bit about this in terms of pictures. Alan, talk to us a little bit about the work you do.
Yeah, for sure. I think it'll be best if I just maybe share my screen and I talk
Yes.
you through the site that I threw together. Everyone can see that?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, cool. So this was born out of a very practical sense of members of the safety collaborative saying we would love to have a database, and then also the question of, am I meant to memorize all of these organizations and their missions and how they interact? And so when I heard that, I sort of peeked up and said, maybe there's something that I can throw together where all of this would be on one site. And so this is the dashboard basically of like who is involved and who could potentially be involved. And so if you can search by category, say like child-related services, and it'll filter on this. If you're interested in a geography, you can zoom in to a particular neighborhood if that's where they're sort of centrally located. And then you can search in the actual panel. And this, if you click this, it'll take you to their website. So you can see sort of what more in depth, what they're involved with and what they do. On top of just the broad information, we also have like state and nationwide resources. So if there's like a hotline, or a broader, like it operates throughout the country or throughout the state, and it doesn't have one location in Genesee County or Flint. These are here as well. In addition, we started with Tari Jones at the Mott Foundation. She started, this is her community event calendar. So these are reoccurring events and then special events, like what Percy just mentioned here. So those get updated, and they wherever they're embedded, it also updates automatically. And then I also have a panel for the meetings if anyone's interested. They just had this one this week, and next week is at Catholic Charities. And then also just showing that there are other resources similar to this that may have overlap, but the prevention portal, which is more about preventative services, maybe for alcohol or drug abuse. And then Engage Flint for their Opportunity Youth Coalition, which is centered, it's catered towards ages 16 to 24. and then just basic crime stats from the city. So you can see where those numbers were a year ago compared to now. This is also a link to the community calendar. And then here's a quote from Braiding Sweetgrass that I thought sort of captured the idea of having all these information. The gifts of each are more fully expressed when they are nurtured together than alone. So that was just my own piece. I was just throwing that in there. Also under the map is violent crime per 1,000 people between 2020 and 2023. And then I always like to have this where it's a feedback. So if someone sees their organization and there's something wrong with it and they need a correction, they can throw it in there. If someone doesn't see their organization and they want to be added, they can be added here. Or if you have ideas that, in addition, that would be helpful for what this is trying to do, which I feel like the overall vibe here is that violence and safety touches so many different industries that the solutions also have to touch a variety of industries as well.
Yeah. Alan, this is phenomenal. Thank you so much for sharing this. Julie, I wonder about the partnership with Crime Stoppers and where that role intersects and sort of talk about the work that Crime Stoppers has been doing as a part of the Community Safety Club.
Thank you. I'm very excited about just having all of our friends here, like talking. We've been working together for a really long time, and when I hear that, I know that the work will never end. And when I hear we need to do this, and it's like, but we also have been doing this. So letting the community know that the work has been going on for many, many, many years, but we will always keep moving forward and we can always get better. And that's what this Community Safety Collaborative is really all about. And just to give you a little history, I too have some relationship with crime. My father-in-law was murdered in Flint. It'll be 15 years next month, and it remains unsolved, which brought me to running the Crime Stoppers program. I did not know anything about this world before that came into my world. So and now it's really a passion of letting it, having it being a resource for not only the families who are affected by crime because they're able to have their loved one highlighted. Crime Stoppers try to get information from the community to law enforcement, so they get to ask for help, which helps. But then what we do is we are that avenue to get information from the community to law enforcement anonymously. So a couple of things that I was taking note of was a lot of heavy topics in the news, especially this week, but always on crime. And so lots of heavy conversations this morning. So Teresa, I just wanted to, little check mark. I did a 20-minute before. I'm like, okay, 11 o'clock, I need 20 minutes to really settle in before this webinar so I can focus on positive, what we're doing here because it was all heavy stuff earlier. So it really does. I mean, I use those tools all the time. And I'm so happy that we have it for the community and we have it for law enforcement partners because they both need that. And the other thing, of course, is all about the collaboration and what Percy was saying, and we all are working together as a team, and that really what this dashboard is all about is, and it was so exciting because Alan and the team over at MSU and with the Community Safety Collaborative have been working on this dashboard, and late last year we were looking at a possible grant with the National Crime Victims' Rights Week, which is in April every year. And they had, it's all about resources. I'm going to share my screen here. It's all about resources for all types, victims of all types of crime. And so I was like, well, this QR code, this dashboard that's been, that we've been working on for all these, what can we do with this? So we created this flyer And can you guys all see that there? It's got the QR code and it's promoting the Greater Flint Community Safety Collaborative. And then they're tear off tags. So we've got these hanging up all throughout the county now. And what's exciting is whenever I go into the Flint Police Department in the lobby, I have this hanging up in the lobby, and these are all gone. Every time I go in, I get to put a new one up because people are using this. They're taking these tear off tags. And I think, Dr. Dustin, wasn't it you who said you saw it in the bathroom somewhere at some event that she was at, I think. That was super exciting. And also we have these as a magnet, and our community engagement representatives go to events, and they're saying these are so well received. A lot of people don't understand how to use QR codes, so we're showing them. If you scan, you use your phone, put your camera on it, they're amazed. A lot of people do not know how to use the QR code still. So even at Flint PD, the lady who works at the sergeant's desk, I showed her how to use it. She didn't know how to use it at first, and now she's like, I'm telling everybody who comes in here. And then they can't even believe how amazing the dashboard is that Alan just ran through. You punch in youth, you punch in crime, you punch in food, and all those resources come up and it goes right to the website. It is absolutely amazing. And I have one more thing, unless anybody has any other questions, but I wanted to mention something about prevention that we had touched on earlier. At Crime Stoppers, we receive many tips, not for only for unsolved crimes, but we receive a lot of tips on prevention. And I've got two examples. Can't go into detail, but we have helped prevent hate crimes. And we have also helped, it was a few months ago, a tip came in and law enforcement was able to act on it. And when they got to this home, found not only weapons and drugs, but a 6-month-old baby on the floor with this whole situation happening. And they were able to get the baby into a safe environment also. So they told me, these are their words, you just saved a 6-month-old baby. So there was prevention. So one more, I know I was only going to say two examples, but another one, it was a couple years ago. This one always sticks out in my head is a tip came in. Law enforcement went to this location and there was this big party going on, and they had 7 people there with warrants already out for their arrest. There was weapons and drugs collected. And on our board of directors, we have law enforcement advisors that are retired from law enforcement. And they said that prevented a homicide from that happening that night, because with all of that, with weapons and drugs there, easily could have been a homicide. So not only are we, helping with solve crime, but also preventing crime. But it takes the community, and law enforcement needs the community's help. So
Absolutely. Julie, before we let you go, could you talk to us a little bit about the process that happens when someone calls into Crime Stoppers? Like, what
sure.
information do they have to share? What happens?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So what it is we have different ways that you can submit a tip. You can call the call center, which is 1-800-422-JAIL. The call center is in Canada. There's no caller ID. The calls are not recorded. It is not noted whether it is a male or female voice, nothing identifying. If the tipster accidentally identifies themselves, like my brother-in-law is doing this, that will not be included because that tipster just identified them. So we do everything to prevent identification. So it's completely anonymous. We also have a mobile app, which is P3 Tips. It's like the letter P and the number 3. And then crimestoppersoflint.com, there's a submit a tip button there. Those are all methods that you can submit a tip. We do not track IP addresses. When the tipster contacts Crime Stoppers, they're given a tip number. That's how we identify them, is a tip number. And then we get the information, we ensure that the tipster has not been identified, and then we send it to the agency that's in charge of that jurisdiction. And then the agency will let us know whether the tip was successful in making an arrest and if there was weapons or drugs and those types of things. And we have a chart that we follow. So everything is consistent with kind of a point value of the warrants and the crimes have a dollar amount value. So everything is consistent. And then what we do is we put it into the computer. The tipster can contact us back either by calling or checking with their tip number. They have a password and their tip number. We say do not share it with anyone else and keep that quiet because then you can, we're not gonna don't identify yourself either to anybody
Right.
else that you call Crime Stoppers. And then we have a secure location where they can pick up the cash anonymously. So I know that people think it's not anonymous because, all the age of technology, but we have all kinds of things in place to do that. We do not want to know who they are. And trust me, law enforcement, they ask, hey, can you have the tipster call me? No, I'm sorry, we can't do that because we don't know who the tipster is. And if they would have called you if they wanted to call you.
Call you.
They called us for a reason and we're going to get you. And so the law enforcement gets a little frustrated because they really need to talk to that person. But retaliation is real and there's a reason why people don't want to call the police. So we say, yeah, of course the police need you to call. But if you have for any reason need to remain anonymous, we're here for you.
Okay. That makes sense.
Understood. Thank you so much. I know you have an event coming up, and I want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about that event.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yes, we have the back to school. It's a share fair. It's our resource fair, and we'll have close to 40 agencies have already signed up to be there. And we are making it an even more fun event this year. We're having a birthday celebration for McGruff, the crime dog. Most of the partners who are on this call are going to be there as well. So thanks for letting me share that.
Of course. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you all do with Crime Stoppers. We really, really appreciate the community support and the community and everyone working together to be thoughtful about how we get these problems solved and how we think about keeping our kids safe and all the rest of us safe. We've got
Thanks. Can
two
I add
more.
one more thing? I'm sorry,
Of course.
is just talking about the partnerships is the families that we work with, they often don't know what is available for them. And so we have been able to connect those families with the resources. I've connected them with Teresa at the CRIM. I've connected them with Hurley Trauma Center. One of our families said that we've saved her life because she was able to get some therapy after her daughter was murdered. So there's all of these connections, and Kenyatta and I work with the youth a lot together. We're always looking out for these kids. Gear Up to Lead. We've got connection. So it's really an amazing network, this community collaborative.
It's so important. Thank you. Kenyatta, you have a couple events that you want to talk about. And then if we can, I'm going to ask Teresa to lead us out with 1 minute of mindfulness. So before we shift into our next environment, we're going to hold ourselves accountable for being thoughtful about the way we're moving and taking an opportunity to take a breath. So Kenyatta, I want you to get your events in.
Okay, great. I do want to say that on June 27th, there will be a unity march. In the past, we've said unity march against violence. This year is just unity. We want everyone to come together. It's always well attended. It's happened for the past 25 years. We, as an organization and also collectively, have been doing this work for 25 years, and we would love for everyone to come out. You can wear your shirts, you can bring signs. We honor the life of those that we've lost, but then we also celebrate life and try to encourage folks to value the life that we live. So all are welcome. The flyer is right here, and it's also posted on my page, my personal Facebook page as well. So we would love for you for you all to be out. And I do just want to give a shout out. I did see we work. Not only do we work in partnership here locally in Flint, but we also have partners in the Detroit area. I saw some of them in the who are participants on the webinar today, and also in Saginaw. So just wanted to give them a shout out, as well as all the partners who continue to come together to do their part and to do this great work.
Thank you. Do we have any other events? And then we've got the Gun Violence Youth Summit. So that is this Saturday, June 13th from 11 to 3. And if you to register, you can send an email to Kent Key or use the QR code that you see there. Another great event by great partners. Katie, I see you raised your hand. Just want to make
Yeah,
sure I don't
thank
miss
you.
you.
Thank you so much. What an amazing presentation. And I'm just so grateful to all the partners in the community that work so hard to help people in need and to bring the community together. So beautiful. Thank you. I just wanted to say we Center for Hope has the Feed the City event, and a lot of our partners are out there, a lot of resources, free haircuts and food and all kind of giveaways, and that's Tuesday next week, 12 to 2 p.m. So if you have any questions or want to know more, let me know.
Appreciate you, Katie. Tuesday next week. Keep that in your minds. All right,
Dr.
Teresa, will
J,
you lead
Dr.
us
J,
out with,
Dr. J,
yes.
I'm sorry. Before we go into the mindfulness, there were a few questions in the Q&A that asked about the 1 million, like how do we come to the number that we came to? So I just want to let the folks know that we will try to get those answered.
Yeah, I answered them.
Okay, thanks.
I thought he put, I was going to say,
Thanks.
I thought Alan put a link in the chat, but
And
thank you for
Moses,
keeping us, thank you for keeping us honest there. And this is not the end of this conversation. This is a conversation that we're going to have on a regular basis where we're looking at the data, where we're bringing this wonderful collaborative back to talk about what we've achieved. So thank you, Kenyatta. All right, Teresa.
Sure. So I did have two other flyers to show. Is it possible for me to just show them now or?
Yes, show them and then maybe we'll do 30 seconds and we'll let people go.
Okay, let me make sure I can find them where I put them. Let's see. Oh, okay. Share document? Nope. Did I do that right? All right. Maybe I'm not doing this correctly. Let's see. Okay, there we go. I think I have to just share my screen. So let me pull up these documents first. So first, I just want to say we have a mindfulness and yoga retreat coming up on September 12th. I put that information in the chat so that people can check it out. Registration is open right now for that program. We are also going to have a adverse childhood experiences education series coming up that we do not have flyers yet, but so that's more of a save the date. We'll have a virtual session on We'll have a virtual session taking place on July 23rd, so around adverse and positive childhood experiences. And then we'll have a film screening the following Thursday as well, and that'll be virtual as too. And then we'll have an in-person version of that in September on the 23rd and the 30th. And we're working on our marketing materials for those two right now. They're essentially save the dates at the moment. And then I wanted to lift that we have that there is going to be a healing circle taking place at MLK Peace Park on June 22nd. I think that I'm sharing my screen correctly now, right?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. Yeah, I did it right. And so that'll be from 5 to 8 at Peace Park. And I'll be there with Dr. Tiffany Quinn. We'll have some yoga, storytelling, vendors, journaling, and we'll also have a couple other people present. So if you are interested, that's part of the Juneteenth celebrations. And then, so that's the flyer there. And I did put this in the chat too. So if you want to save it, you can save it. And then the other one is just our retreat flyer. So we've got this coming up as well. And we do have financial assistance available for about 20 participants. So if you are interested in that, you can email me, tell me and I'll send you the application for the scholarship to participate. We'll be at 4 this year. We've been moving around for our mindfulness and yoga retreats. The first year we were at Tenacity, then Applewood, and now we're at 4 So trying to stay in nature to give everybody an opportunity to kind of, I don't know, immerse themselves in nature. So And I did put this one in the chat too. So there's some other things. Then, of course, we've got lots of other stuff going on at the CRIM that are on our brand new website. So we have a brand new website, very exciting. It's very easy to use. It's always nice when there's a new website. So feel free to check that stuff out. And my contact information is in the chat if you ever want to work together or just have questions. And so if there's nothing else, I will go ahead and lead us
Yes,
out.
please. We'll
All
do
right.
30 seconds and you can cue us out.
All right. All right. So once again, if you can find a comfortable way to sit in your chair, your feet can be flat on the floor if you like, or maybe you're standing or sitting on a couch or something. Can sit crisscross, whatever is going to work for you. You can close your eyes if that feels supportive, or lower the gaze. Obviously, we're on Zoom. At some nature and taking a big breath in through the nose and exhale a little bit longer than the inhale. Releasing, checking in with your body, noticing if you're holding any. Breathing into those spaces, releasing, noticing any shifts in the body, noticing any changes, perhaps noticing anything that you need to attend to or care for more deeply than might be normal. Breathing in, I do my best. Breathing out, I let go of the rest. And as we close out our program today, perhaps keeping in mind that same question, what would be of service right now, right here in this moment? What is going to be the most helpful thing I can do in this particular moment? Just as you go about your day, maybe even taking that 30 seconds, 2 seconds, the walk down the hallway to the supervisor's office, just taking a slower walk than normal, taking a breath in. All right, heel toe, heel toe. What's the next right thing? What's the next right thing? We don't always have 45 minutes to deep breathe. That's okay. And sometimes you might. And as we part, maybe just knowing that we're all showing up here today to make the community better, whether you agree, disagree, care for each other, not a fan, that's okay. We're finding what's that common thread, the common humanity between all of us, and hanging on to that, knowing that there's more right with us than wrong with us every day, and knowing that each and every one of us simply wants the same things: to be safe, to be loved, and to be seen. And slowly opening the eyes, wiggling the hands, the toes, maybe stretching, taking a big breath in, probably the biggest breath you might have taken today. Coming back to the space. And just what's the next right thing for you today?
We might not have 45 minutes, but you've given us 5. So thank you. Bye, everyone. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.